Have you ever wondered how two people can face the exact same situation and they both come out with completely different understandings of that situation? So for example, two people might face a particular thing that they might classify as a failure, but one person just completely gives up, and yet the other person takes it as a challenge for them to grow stronger. Well, the idea of that actually may be down to something that's not necessarily about them, but how they explain the things that happen to them, how they explain the setbacks that they face, the stories that they tell themselves. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about something called explanatory styles. And these are the stories we tell ourselves to explain the situations that occur to us, usually when they're setbacks or they're negative, and how these can actually end up impacting the steps we take going forward. And once we know about these explanatory styles, we can then actually use them in our favor. So condition our minds to choose the explanatory style that actually helps us move forward and feel like we have agency, rather than an explanatory style that makes us feel trapped, like we can't make progress, like things are just not going to work out for us. If that sounds good, keep watching. When it comes to explanatory styles, this idea was given by one of the foremost psychologists in the area of positive psychology. His name was Martin Seligman, and he wrote a book called Learned Optimism, and that's where a lot of the ideas for this video are coming from. And basically, what he said was that there are three types of explanatory styles. They are internal versus external, global versus specific, and stable versus unstable. So when you have internal versus external, you're looking at, okay, how do you explain what happens to you? And is it something that is within you or inherent in your character? Or is it something that is external? So let me give you an example. Say you went for an interview and it didn't quite go as planned. You didn't get the job. How do you explain the situation or the result of that? Do you say, oh, I'm never good at interviews and I'm never going to get it? Or do you go to the other side where you then say, actually, the interview was hard, they didn't give me a chance? These are ways we explain things to ourselves. By the way, a more balanced view could be something like, I got nervous and that affected my clarity. I also noticed the interview style wasn't well suited to storytelling, which is where I shine. I can prep for both next time. So that's the difference between internal and external. Now let's go on to stable versus unstable. So stable would say something like, I've never been good at interviews. I don't have that natural charm that's needed to do well in interviews. That sort of labels the problem as a personal trait and maybe one that can't be changed or can't be changed easily. Then the other side would be unstable, so which is more growth oriented. If you know about fixed mindset or growth mindsets, this is sort of thing that would play in this part. I think I've done a video about it, but if I haven't, I will do one soon. If I have, you'll find it in the comments or in the description. But unstable would say something like, that interview didn't go well, but I was running on little sleep and didn't prep my answers as deeply as I should, or as deeply as I usually do. So that looks at the situation as being temporary, and also looks at it at being like it's temporary and specific. So there are temporary and specific reasons why it didn't quite go well, as opposed to saying inherently there's something wrong with you. Then we've got the global versus specific. So global would say something like, I'm just bad at professional situations. I don't belong in this field. And so that person applies the setback to their entire identity and says, you know what, this isn't for me. This interview didn't go well. And so it means that I'm not cut out for this industry. Maybe I should try something else. Maybe I'm aiming too high. That's not a good place to be. Now, the opposite of that would be specific. So let me give you an example. What you could say is, this was one type of interview format that caught me off guard. I do better with task-based assessments. I can prepare better next time. So that keeps the challenge within a specific context, as opposed to applying it to the global context of your whole life or your whole personality. You can actually say, no, it was within that context, things didn't go well, but there's still a wider context, and that's particularly important. I know for me, it's been a blessing that I was doing my PhD part-time and not full-time, because I think I would have been more discouraged at times when I got feedback that wasn't encouraging, and almost felt like I had to start again from the beginning. And it's not fun. It's not fun receiving such feedback. Also because you also got the pressures of finances if you're self-funding, and just a lot of things that you just think, he could really not do with this. But because I had other things going on in my life, I could then point to the fact that, okay, this hasn't quite gone the way I expected it to, but it's not my whole life. It's an aspect that may not be going well, but there are other things that are going well. And so what's the key takeaway of this? Notice that each one was a versus, and the ones I usually mention first were the ones that weren't the way to rely on. So for you to position yourself mindset-wise, to position yourself for success, you want to be on the external, unstable, and specific spectrum. So when it's internal versus external, you want to be on the external. When it's global versus specific, you want to be on the specific. When it is stable versus unstable, you want to be on the unstable side. Those three point to the fact that there is room for change. Things can improve. Nothing is set in stone, and there isn't something that makes you inherently flawed. It's really important to protect yourself. I mentioned that in a previous video, not to keep yourself feeling like you are completely flawed, because then that would stop you from actually taking steps towards the things that you could actually be good at, and towards the things that maybe just require a little more work on your side. So that would be my key takeaway. Make sure that when you're thinking about explaining certain situations to yourself, realize that it's not necessarily inherently a flaw about you. There are just some things that you may need to work on, or there's some external factors at play. Now, what I would like you to do is, first of all, share this video with somebody who it could be helpful to. But beyond that, in the comments section, let me know if there's a situation where you feel like, this doesn't quite apply, or you've heard someone deal with this sort of situation where they've written themselves off because of a particular event that happened. And let's see if we can encourage you or encourage that person in the comments. I'd really like the opportunity to do that if you'd let me. Yeah, in subsequent videos, I'm going to talk about these in more detail and give more examples. And so we can use that just to help reframe our minds towards the path of success, towards the mindset of success. Yes, it's great to learn skills and build your capacities and your abilities, but beyond that, it's important to also have a mindset that even if you face setbacks on your journey to becoming a better person, to becoming a more skilled person, to becoming a person that is more desired in terms of what they can bring to any situation, you've got to have the right mindset set up. That way you'll be able to weather the storms, and the storms will come. Nobody is perfect. Nobody that has reached the apex of their career or their craft has done so without any roadblocks, without any setbacks. They're part of life. The important thing is to have the tools that you can use to help you make progress and to keep going even when those setbacks come. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this walk. I'll catch you in the next one. But in the meantime, check out the other videos in this series. I call it the Get Unstuck series. So check out the other videos in the series, and even the last one I did before this. I think you'll enjoy it. All right, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye. And enjoy my lovely view in the meantime. All right, take care. Bye.